concept of the guilty pleasure is often misused at times. The film Doom is an insult to FPS gamers everywhere, and The Room is, well, an insult to anyone with 2 frontal lobes. Now, a guilty pleasure is supposed to be a film that is bad, but is still entertaining. And the one such guilty pleasure we're taking a look at today is Dog Soldiers. The film opens with some random campers getting attacked. This scene doesn't serve that much purpose other than showing off this knife that becomes important later. We then cut to this random guy running through the woods and beating up random soldiers. It turns out that he was in the middle of a final exercise for getting into the Special Air Service. This is our main character, Cooper, who might sound somewhat similar to another SAS individual.
Right. What the hell kind of name is Soap, eh? How'd a muppet like you pass selection?
He's not really Soap, but he does both look and sound like him, so you never know, he could become Soap McTavish at some point in the future. Unfortunately, Cooper fails to get into the SAS because he refuses to shoot a dog for no reason. This earns him the ire of Captain Ryan, who for some reason swears revenge on him. I guess he really doesn't like getting punched in the face. After getting binned from the SAS, Cooper, or Coop as he's called, is sent back to his squad, and despite being a private, he is really the second in command of the squad, even though there is a corporal in the squad as well. In any event, we have a variety of characters present here. We have the seasoned campaigner Sergeant Wells, a soccer fan slash badass in Dave, and Private Witherspoon, who is often referred to as either Spoon or Spoony, who actually has a personality that is somewhat similar to the Internet Reviewer. The squad is on a routine training exercise against the SAS. The opening scenes of the movie are pretty basic. It's just the squad wandering around waiting to run into the enemy. Eventually, they hole up in a small cave and talk a bit. Sergeant Wells shares a story from his past, only to have a dead boar get thrown into the cave. Now, the werewolves threw this into the cave for no reason that I can really determine. I'm guessing they wanted to engage in psyops, maybe? The next day, they start to find various guts laying around, and a trail that leads to a military camp, where they find signs of an attack. While there, they arm themselves with real weapons, since they were only armed with training rifles to begin with. Now, why the werewolves didn't just attack when they were unarmed is a plot hole that will never be explained. While in the camp, they also find Captain Ryan, who is delirious and saying that there was only supposed to be one werewolf. Then, another stupid thing happens. You see, after finding out there was a serious military action that went down, Sergeant Wells ordered Bruce Campbell, yeah, that's his name, to call in on the radio, only to find that the radio is non-functional. Okay, this could be caused by one of two things. The first, the radio was sabotaged. But this doesn't make any sense because there should have been a radio check before they even got off the helicopter. This could also be caused by the werewolves. They could be jamming their transmissions. Yeah. The WMG or the Werewolf Militant Group are that organized. Also, Bruce finds a transmitter in the radio casing, leading Spoonie to mention,
It's the Kobayashi Maru test. They fixed it so we can't fucking win.
Not the best test to bring up at this point, seeing as how just about anyone who takes the Kobayashi Maru test ends up dead, even though it is an actual death. So after Ryan gets patched up a bit, the squad sets out, and then they start running for some reason. They don't really know what they're running from, but they're running nonetheless. Eventually, Bruce, on rear guard, hunkers down and finds that there are trees in the forest! Ah! Trees! Wait. This isn't Lord of the Rings. Eventually, he hears wolves howling and tries to fire, only to realize that his MP5 won't work. The only thing that could really cause that is if there wasn't a round in the chamber and that he was just dry firing it. But there clearly was. At first, I thought maybe he had the selector switch like somewhere in the middle of something, like halfway between fully automatic and semi-automatic, but that wouldn't cause it either. So really, this malfunction would never really happen, I think. Well, after finding out that his weapon doesn't work, Bruce starts running, only to be killed by a tree trunk. Yeah, a tree trunk feel of the highest caliber. Sergeant Wells goes looking for Bruce only to get attacked and disemboweled. Coop shows up to help him and they all run away only to be picked up by a convenient passerby who heard gunfire. They all head back to a convenient house so they can patch up the sergeant. This part of the film also doesn't make any sense. The medical attention they give the sergeant could have easily been done in the vehicle on the run. Really, all they do in the house is eat for a second and talk. That's it. And after a few minutes, they are ready to leave again. Also, the food they are eating is described as some kind of pork. Since this is the werewolf's house, it's probably long pig. Eventually, they head outside only to find that their Land Rover has been destroyed. Now, why they didn't post a guard, seeing as how they knew they were being pursued by an enemy force, well, I couldn't say. So since the truck's destroyed, they are stuck in the house, and this is what the rest of the film is. It's just them fighting the werewolves. The entire siege is actually quite compelling, because it's not just them fighting all the time. In fact, one of the most visceral parts of the film is when they're patching up Sergeant Wells, and that's because the film doesn't like to show gory details. It's a film that lets you, the viewer, use your imagination to fill in the blanks. Just look at this scene here. The combat sequences are well shot and really convey a frantic atmosphere, and there are a few good lines dropped here and there, like this one. Never has taking a picture seemed so badass. Also, in the course of the siege, the werewolves shut down the power.
They cut the power.
What do you mean they cut the power? How could they cut the power, man? They're animals.
Now, if you haven't figured it out before, this film is a complete and unabashed Aliens clone. It has all the same elements seen in Aliens, except it's British, and it has werewolves. And that's not a bad thing in the slightest. Eventually, the squad asks about what they are fighting, and Megan, the convenient passerby, fills them in.
Megan, you want to run it past the boys?
Lycanthropes.
You what?
That's werewolves to you and me.
Werewolf?
No, werewolf. Where? Say it.
Now, Coop really doesn't believe what she's saying, and replies with this.
You may have a point. I'm still not convinced that these things didn't just escape from the local nut house and forget to shave or trim their nails.
A couple of nuts that forgot to shave and forgot to trim their nails. Just remember, this is what Coop has seen up to this point.
Incoming!
How? How does that look human in the slightest? And what about the fact that they've been shooting them? Now, all throughout the film, they have been shooting the werewolves to little or no effect. This doesn't make any sense because bullets travel fast and do a great deal of kinetic damage. And yet, Coop was able to slice off a werewolf's hand and stab one in the chest. It didn't kill it, but it shows that they can be harmed, so why don't bullets work? Well, my guess is this. They have a health system similar to the Call of Duty series, where they can only be shot so many times until their vision turns red and a prompt saying, "You are hurt, get to cover" shows up. That's really the only thing that makes sense. Eventually, they come up with a plan to acquire a vehicle. They launch the plan only to have one of the number killed. Now, why this guy didn't just open the door makes no sense. He had plenty of time. Instead, he just tried to fight the werewolf and promptly got killed. Afterwards, they don't try to escape in the perfectly functional vehicle. Instead, they just go back into the house. And then something even dumber happens. Megan decides to start playing a really, really, really sad song on her piano. Was that supposed to raise morale in any way, shape, or form? If she wanted to actually help, she could have played this song.
Well, I heard about the fella you've been dancing with all over the neighborhood. So why didn't you ask me, baby? Or didn't you think I could? But I
During the course of the siege, Captain Ryan shows considerable signs of recovery, and it turns out that he is a werewolf. The transformation sequence works well because we don't see what's going on. All we get to see is his nails grow and his teeth change, but that's it. And once again, it is more effective because we personally get to fill in the blanks. So after Ryan joins the enemy forces, they come up with the dumbest last-ditch plan of all time. They decide to use the only vehicle they have access to that would allow them to escape as a bomb. What they want to do is they want to destroy a barn where they think the werewolves are holed up in. The only problem with this is, why wouldn't the werewolves see the truck coming and escape? Well, they go through with the plan and it fails miserably, and that's because Megan was a werewolf all the time.
Betrayal! Betrayal! Betrayed me!
After that has been revealed, she lets the werewolves into the house and the endgame begins. Coop and Sergeant Wells head upstairs, and Spoonie heads to the kitchen for his last stand.
You're in my spot.
You son of a bitch! What the fuck are you talking about?
Get out of the way.
What the fuck? I didn't even start this level yet!
Boss, you're in my way.
What the fuck are you? This is the spawn point, you fucking ass miner! I'm gonna shoot you in the eyes right now! There
You're standing in my position, sir.
Again with the fucking...
Hands in the air, now!
Eventually, Coop and Wells make it downstairs, and Wells tells Coop to head down this trap door. Coop, of course, doesn't want to go, but Wells gives him a final speech.
The healthy human mind doesn't wake up in the morning thinking this is its last day on Earth. But I think that's a luxury, not a curse. To know you're close to the end is a kind of freedom. Good time to take inventory. Outgunned, outnumbered, out of our minds on a suicide mission. But the sand and rocks here, stained with thousands of years of warfare, they will remember us for this. Because out of all our vast array of nightmares, this is the one we choose for ourselves. We go forward like a breath exhaled from the earth, with vigor in our hearts and one goal in sight. We will kill him.
At the end, Wells sacrifices himself and kills all the werewolves, sans one. Captain Ryan, whom Coop has some snarky words for.
Ryan, you tried licking your own balls yet? I forgot. You don't fucking have any.
So after killing Ryan with the magical letter opener from earlier in the film, Coop heads out into the sun victorious. Now, I do recommend Dog Soldiers if you are not a horror movie fan, because this is an action film. A very well done action film at that. So this is General Lotz saying, while silver bullets may be expensive, they do save lives.